Imagine this. You're a 10-year-old boy. You're at a railway station with your siblings, and night is falling. But every single person who could take you home refuses. Not because you can't pay, but because of who you are. So how does a boy like that, totally rejected by his own society, grow up to write its destiny? Well, this is his story. And it's an absolutely incredible one.
Okay, so the year is 1901. The boy's name is Bhimrao Ambedkar. He and his siblings, they're so excited. They've just gotten to the station to meet their father. But nobody's there. The station master, who was super friendly at first, finds out they belong to the Mahar caste, which was considered untouchable, and his whole demeanor just changes. His smile? Gone. He literally turns his back on them. The cart drivers, they demand to double the money, but then they refuse to even drive the cart with them in it. They force the children to do it themselves. This whole journey, it was his first really raw, painful lesson about the world he was born into. And that really is the central question here, isn't it? How does someone who was denied a simple drink of water, who was seen as somehow polluting by his own people, rise up to write the very document that guarantees equality for hundreds of millions? It's a journey of incredible defiance, sheer brain power, and a will that just would not break. To really understand the man, you first have to understand the world that tried to crush him. We're talking about a society that was so rigidly structured by the caste system. And right at the very bottom of that system was the soul-crushing reality of untouchability. Now, what's really important to get here is that this wasn't just, social snobbery. No, this was a deeply, deeply ingrained system of total segregation. Untouchability meant you could be denied access to wells, to temples, to roads, to basic human dignity. It was basically a social death sentence, and it was enforced the second you were born. School, the one place that should be about learning and growth, was for him a daily exercise in humiliation. Young Bhimrao had to bring his own gunny sack to sit on, way apart from the other kids. And get this, after school, he had to take it home with him because even the school cleaner wouldn't touch something so polluted. He couldn't drink from the common water pot. He had to wait for someone to pour water into his hands from a distance so he wouldn't contaminate the source. If that person was absent, he just went thirsty. Every single day was a brutal reminder that his society saw him as less than human. So after one particularly painful moment of shame, where he actually thought about just running away from it all, Ambedkar made a decision. He realized there was one way out, one weapon powerful enough to shatter the walls of caste, and that weapon, it was education. He decided he was going to study so hard that no one could ever deny his worth again. And just look at this timeline. It is absolutely mind-blowing. Thanks to a scholarship from a progressive Maharaja, he didn't just study, he went on a mission. He devoured knowledge. In just a little over 10 years, he armed himself with degrees from some of the most famous schools in the entire world, Columbia University and the London School of Economics. And this, right here, this is the game changer. In America and England, he could walk into any library, sit in any classroom, drink from any water fountain he wanted. For the first time in his entire life, he wasn't an untouchable. He was just a brilliant mind. And that taste of equality, that experience of just being a person, that would fuel his fight for the rest of his life. So he returns to India, armed with this incredible education, ready to take up a post in the state of Baroda as part of his scholarship deal. He thought, surely my achievements will change things now. He was wrong. The real fight was just getting started. The contrast is just unbelievable. He had this high-ranking job, military secretary, and yet his own junior officers would throw files onto his desk just to avoid touching him. Even in his powerful office, he couldn't get a drink of water. His degrees, his position, none of it mattered in the face of prejudice. It was a brutal wake-up call that made him realize that just succeeding on his own wasn't enough. The entire system had to be torn down.
So he took the fight public. In the town of Mahad, there was a public water tank that was, by law, open to everyone. But in reality, Dalits was still forbidden from using it. So in 1927, Ambedkar led a peaceful protest. He walked right up to that tank and drank from it. A simple act, right? But it was revolutionary. As he said, it wasn't just about water. It was about reclaiming their humanity. Now, it did spark a violent backlash, but it also lit a fire across India. The fight for basic human rights had officially begun.
As his influence grew, he entered politics, and that led to a huge disagreement with another giant of the time, Mahatma Gandhi. It really boiled down to this. Ambedkar believed that for Dalits to have any real political power, they needed separate electorates, basically a system where they would vote for their own candidates, ensuring they had true representation. Gandhi, on the other hand, hated this idea. He was afraid it would permanently break Hindu society apart, and he even went on a fast unto death to stop it. In the end, Ambedkar was forced to compromise, a moment that caused him a great deal of pain.
But history, it had a different plan for him. As India was about to become independent, it needed a constitution. And in the ultimate twist of irony, the man who was once barred from temples was asked to build the new temple of modern India. He was made the chairman of the Constitution Drafting Committee.
Now, this single number, 60, tells you everything about the scale of this job. Ambedkar didn't just sit down and write some laws. No, he led a global investigation into democracy. He and his team painstakingly studied the constitutions of 60 different countries, picking and choosing the very best ideas about liberty, equality, and government to build a framework for India. And right here, this is his life's work. He used his pen as the ultimate weapon. Look at that first one, Article 17. It made untouchability a crime, outlawed it completely. He built in affirmative action, or reservations, to give a leg up to communities that had been held down for centuries. He guaranteed fundamental rights for every single citizen. Man, woman, didn't matter what your caste or religion was. He literally turned his own suffering into a constitutional shield for every generation to come. And they did it with incredible efficiency. Under his leadership, the Constitution for the world's biggest democracy was drafted and done in less than 3 years. Just for comparison, Pakistan, which was created at the same time, took 9 years. That just speaks volumes about the vision and the sheer dedication he brought to the job.
So, what is the final legacy of this incredible man? Well, it's not just a book of laws. It's a promise of equality, one that he sealed with the final, powerful act of both protest and liberation. Years before, he had famously said, "I was born a Hindu, but I will not die a Hindu." And in 1956, he made good on that promise. He led a mass conversion to Buddhism, a religion he saw as being truly based on equality and compassion. It was his ultimate peaceful rebellion against the caste system that he had battled his entire life. And this quote, it just captures his entire vision perfectly. For Ambedkar, political freedom from the British was only step one. The real goal was social freedom, freedom from oppression, from poverty, and from prejudice. His fight wasn't just for one community. It was for a just and fair nation for everyone. And that really brings us to today. The journey of that 10-year-old boy at the train station ended with him giving a shield to every single citizen of India. Today, when anyone's rights are violated, when any injustice happens, it's this very document they turn to for protection. The boy who was denied everything grew up to give his nation a legal framework that promised everything to everyone. Which leaves us with one last thought. How well are we as a society actually using that shield today?